Lake Erie is about to freeze 100% for the first time in 30 years. Wind chills crashing to 35 below zero. And somehow, temperatures swinging 40 degrees above normal by Monday. That's not a typo. I'm Tom Hadley, and what the model showed me 2 hours ago completely changed this forecast. I'll get to that shortly. A lot of you were asking about your cities in yesterday's comments, so today I'm covering over 80 locations and going deep on the pattern shift ahead. Drop your city right now. First 50 comments I'm responding to personally. Let's see if your area is in the danger zone this weekend. So here's what's happening right now on this Friday evening, February 6th. Snow is already flying across the east and picking up fast. Lake effect snow firing off Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, snow squalls rippling through the Appalachians in West Virginia, and honestly, this is just the beginning of what's coming. By midnight tonight, those squalls push into southwestern Pennsylvania, scattered snow spreading across New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, and western Massachusetts. Not a blockbuster storm by any means, but absolutely enough to make roads slick and dangerous out there. By 7 a.m. Saturday morning, snow will be flying in Boston, Providence, Hartford, Cape Cod, and eastern Long Island. Could be heavy at times through the morning hours. But here's what really has my attention right now. Visibility could drop under half a mile in spots. You go 5 miles one direction and it's totally fine, 10 miles the other way and you literally can't see anything in front of you. That's how localized and dangerous these snow bands are going to be. Wind gusts already exceeding 40 miles per hour across the Great Lakes region, and by tomorrow morning around 7 a.m., we're talking 50 miles per hour gusts in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Saturday afternoon is when winds really peak in Philly, Baltimore, D.C., Roanoke, and Virginia Beach. Gusts could hit 50 to 60 miles per hour at times. Make sure you secure anything loose outside tonight before you go to bed. Now, what those winds are importing is true Arctic air. I'm talking straight from the Arctic Circle all the way down through Canada into the lower 48. Temperature anomalies showing around 35 degrees below normal for this time of year in early February. That tells you exactly how serious this air mass truly is. Wind chills already below zero by a handful of degrees in northern Michigan and Wisconsin. Central Ontario sitting at 20 below zero right now as I'm recording this. By 7 a.m. Saturday morning, we're talking dangerously cold wind chills of 30 below zero in parts of Pennsylvania and New York. That is life-threatening cold. I'm not using that phrase lightly. Y'all seeing flakes out there yet? Drop it in the comments. I want to see how this is matching up with what the models are showing me tonight. All right, let me break down the cities region by region, and I'm going to move fast here because there's a ton to cover. Starting with the Northeast, the entire I-95 corridor from Washington, D.C. all the way up to Boston is getting hit hard. Tens of millions of people affected this weekend. New York City looking at 2 to 4 inches of snow with wind chills dropping to 20 below zero, high of only 22 degrees, and low crashing down to 10. That's all 5 boroughs affected: Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, Staten Island, Manhattan. Nobody escapes this one. Boston even worse with 3 to 5 inches expected. Wind chills plunging to 25 below zero, high of 25 and a brutal low of just 5 degrees. That's frostbite territory in under 10 minutes of exposure. Not good enough. Philly and Baltimore getting lighter snow accumulation, but the cold is absolutely brutal. Highs stuck in the low 20s all weekend. Washington, D.C. staying dry but frigid at 25 degrees. The cold is the real story there, not the snow. Upstate New York getting absolutely buried under lake effect. Buffalo looking at 4 to 6 inches. Rochester and Syracuse 3 to 5 inches. Albany 1 to 3 inches. All of them dealing with sub-zero wind chills and lows dropping down to -1 or -2. Brutal conditions up there. Burlington, Vermont getting hammered with 4 to 6 inches of snow and a low of -5 degrees. Portland, Maine looking at 3 to 5 inches. Hartford and Providence both expecting 2 to 4 inches. The entire region is locked in this deep freeze through the weekend. Okay, hold on real quick. Let me check the comments. How we doing so far, everybody? Shout out to everyone watching from the Northeast right now. Seriously, stay safe out there tonight and this weekend. All right, shifting to the Midwest now. Here's where it gets really interesting. Chicago, Detroit, and Indianapolis all staying dry but dangerously cold this weekend. Chicago's high is only 15 degrees with a low crashing to -5. Wind chills in Chicago could hit 25 to 30 below zero this weekend. That's absolutely no joke, folks. Minneapolis and St. Paul even worse. High of only 10 degrees and low of -10. Wind chills approaching 30 below zero. Here's some quick perspective for you. That's actually colder than the average surface temperature on Mars. Colder than Mars. Let that sink in for a second. Cleveland getting snow squalls dropping 2 to 3 inches. Cincinnati, possible light snow. Columbus staying dry but cold, stuck in the low 20s. Des Moines and Omaha absolutely frigid right now. Highs barely reaching the teens with lows of -5 to -8 degrees. But Des Moines, hold tight, because what's about to happen to your temperatures next week is going to absolutely blow your mind, coming up in just a minute. The Dakotas and northern Minnesota are the coldest spots in the entire country right now. Fargo high of only 5 degrees, Bismarck high of just 2, Duluth high of 8. Lows crashing to -15 to -18 in those areas. Dangerous conditions. If you're planning on driving I-94 this weekend, seriously reconsider your plans. Conditions are going to be absolutely treacherous out there. Moving to the Appalachians now, this is where snow totals start getting impressive, especially in the higher elevations. Pittsburgh looking at about 2 inches, with wind chills hitting 15 below by Saturday. Charleston, West Virginia expecting about 1 inch. But those higher elevations where winter storm warnings are posted, we're talking 6 to 7 inches possible up in the mountains. Richmond and Norfolk dealing with light snow and flurries, highs in the upper 20s to around 30 degrees. Louisville and Lexington cold and dry with possible flurries, stuck in the low 20s all weekend. What city y'all watching from tonight? Drop it in the comments below. I want to see where everyone's tuning in from. All right, good news time. The South is actually catching a bit of a break from all this Arctic madness. Atlanta, Charlotte, and Raleigh all in the 30s with possible flurries. Cold for sure, but way more manageable compared to what's happening up north. Nashville and Memphis frigid in the upper 20s to low 30s. Memphis might see some light snow mixing in with the cold. Dallas and Houston chilly with highs in the 40s. Nothing too crazy down there. Light rain possible in Dallas. Florida completely escaped this one. Miami sitting pretty at 70 degrees. Orlando 68. Tampa 65. Y'all are just fine down there. Now, the West Coast is a completely different world right now. Seattle and Portland getting 2 to 4 inches of much needed rain this weekend. Great news for the Pacific Northwest. They desperately needed that moisture for the water supply. California is just vibing out there. San Francisco, 60 degrees. LA, 65. San Diego, 62. Phoenix, 68. Vegas, 55. Denver, relatively mild at 45 degrees. Huge contrast from what's happening across the east right now. Okay, this is where things get absolutely crazy. And I mean actually crazy. Remember what I told Des Moines earlier? Here we go. Starting Monday, February 9th, the entire weather pattern across the middle of the country is going to completely flip. And I mean completely flip. That stubborn high-pressure system that's been parked out west all winter long, basically acting like a wall blocking storms, is finally getting booted east. Think of it like a dam breaking and warm air just floods in behind it. Temperature anomalies in Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, even South Dakota could be around 40 degrees above normal by Monday. 40 degrees above normal. I'll say it again so it sinks in. 40 degrees above normal. Record highs are forecast for Des Moines, Omaha, Lincoln, and the entire I-80 corridor in Nebraska. We're talking middle and upper 60s. 70s further south in Oklahoma City and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. 80s aren't far behind in southern Texas and Arizona. So we're going from 30 below zero wind chills to temperatures in the 60s and 70s in less than a week. That's a 90-degree swing in how it feels outside. 90 degrees. Absolutely wild. But here's the catch. There's always a catch. That warmth is going to hit a wall before it reaches the East Coast, at least at first. Monday, the Northeast is still dealing with cold temperatures and lingering wind chills below zero, while Omaha is basking in the 60s. Same country, 1,500 miles apart. Completely different seasons happening at the exact same time. By Wednesday and Thursday, that warmth finally starts bleeding east, bringing some much-needed relief to the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Now, here's what I'm really watching closely, and this actually surprised me on today's model runs. An active storm track is setting up for next week, and both the European and GFS models are flagging some significant systems coming through. Thursday the 12th into Friday the 13th. A horizontal slider storm track moving from the Midwest across the Ohio Valley toward the East Coast. Snow and ice impacts on the cold side across the Midwest, Great Lakes, and potentially into the Northeast. On the warm side of that system, thunderstorms and possibly severe weather stretching from Texas all the way up through the Tennessee Valley. Could see some feisty storms with 60 miles per hour winds and quarter-size hail. Not a major outbreak, but definitely something worth watching closely. And here's the kicker that really has me paying attention. There's a feature that wants to develop up the East Coast right behind this system. We could be looking at a potential nor'easter less than 10 days out. Still in the medium range, so the details definitely need to be worked out, but it's absolutely on my radar. Looking even further out, late February shows absolutely zero signs of winter surrendering. If anything, it looks like it's ramping back up. Cold air funneling into the northern U.S. with cross-polar flow, winter storms are going to be a feature for the northern plains, upper Midwest, and Northeast by the 3rd and 4th week of February. Both the European and GFS extended ensembles are showing it staying cold and snowy across the central and northern U.S. through early March. Phil called for 6 more weeks of winter, and honestly, looking at these models, I think that groundhog might actually be on to something. Real talk, I could use a break from staring at blue and purple temperature maps every single morning. I know a lot of y'all feel the exact same way. Safety stuff real quick, and this matters way more than any forecast number I just gave you, so please listen up. Wind chills of -20 to -35 degrees. Frostbite can develop on exposed skin in under 15 minutes at those levels. Check on your neighbors, especially anyone elderly or living alone. A quick phone call could literally save someone's life in this cold. Pets inside, period. If it's too cold for you to stand outside for 10 minutes, it's way too cold for them. Let your faucets drip to prevent pipes from bursting. Secure any loose objects outside. All right, wrapping up. 3 things on my radar, 3 things on yours. Number 1, tonight's snow and dangerous 30 below wind chills spreading across the Northeast and Appalachians through the weekend. Number 2, that massive pattern flip bringing 60s and 70s to the plains while the East stays frozen through early next week. Number 3, storm signals for next week, including that potential nor'easter and the late February cold pattern extending into March. That's what I'm watching on tonight's overnight model runs. If anything major shifts, I'll have an update first thing tomorrow morning. What region do you want me to go deeper on in tomorrow's video? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. If you made it this far in the video, you're a real one. Drop a fire emoji in the comments so I know who actually watched the whole thing. Smash that like button. It seriously helps get these forecasts out to more people when dangerous weather is coming. Subscribe if you haven't already. February is going to be absolutely wild, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Tom Hadley here. Stay warm, stay safe. Warmer days are coming. See you tomorrow morning. Peace.